and welcome back to Fuel the Flames. I'm your host, Brian, also known as Malorian, and this is the show brought to you by Feel the Fire that really wants to take your passion for the hobby, no matter what part of the hobby that is, and then helping you build it and develop it into something even greater so that you're just going to get more enjoyment from it. Now, what we're going to be dealing with today is part of our series of our 101 series. And what that's all about is really exploring as an intro the different type of hobbies that are out there. So whether you're a person that didn't really know that this was even a thing and might get some interest from it, or maybe this is something that you are already doing but didn't really take any further steps on it. Now, I should say that later on, we are going to be doing like a next steps type of video series, which is going to be taking each of these and getting more advanced, but this is going to be just those first steps. And the one that we're going to be talking about today is bases. Now, we're not talking about like making forts and castles, like that might be getting when we're going to be doing like our terrain building later. That'll be for that. This is going to be for whenever you have a model game. So maybe it's something like War Machine, 40K, Malifaux, whatever it is. A lot of times when you have these awesome looking models, they're on a base to help them stand. And so that base can be something you can actually do something with. I think there's a lot of people out there, they're like, well, yeah, Brian, I know, I play my game, I have my bases. Is that really what this whole video is about? Okay, turn off, I'm going to go see something else. Well, just wait a second, because I think this is something you can really do a lot more with. And I have to be honest, this is something that I've been very lazy on, and I could have been doing so much more, but it's just not one of the things I have a real passion for. My passions lie in other areas, but I totally respect those that do love this area. Now let's take at a normal regular base here. We have our model here. This is just a nice plastic model, and then we have a base on it. And some of you, if you're the painters, are looking at this model and saying, ooh, that thing's just bare plastic. Come on, let's go and put some effort into that. Let's prime it, let's paint it, let's make it looking nice. However, at the same time, there's other people out there that like doing the bases that are saying the same thing about that plain black base there, being like, whoa, come on, let's get something on there. Let's do some flocking. Let's do something interesting. Now, these are both very valid things, and even though they seem to be in the same area, right? Take model, make look better. This is something I wanted to break up because this is very different when it comes to the people that enjoy them. Some people do enjoy both these things, but there definitely is a very strong set of people that really much just enjoy making these bases. Now, why? Why is this something that you'd want to be putting effort into? Well, again, it just increases that aesthetic of the model. When you want to get immersed to a game, when you want to believe that, yes, it's these trenchers, digging in because in come these attackers and they're trying to defend this city or whatever the story is behind it, it's just a lot easier to imagine that this is a real battle when it looks like real things as opposed to circles or pieces of plastic on other pieces of plastic. And so just like how it's going to be adding to that, to being having it not just a plain painted model being like, oh, it's plastic, but now it actually is primed, now it has some colors on it, I can see where the flesh is, I can see where the clothes are, I can see the silver of the weapon, all these types of things. Well, that also applies to what it's on. So what is it actually going to be on? And for some people like me, they just take it to one step and stop. For me, I'm just going to go and I'm going to grab some flocking, whatever you want to use. I throw it on there and I'm done. And I want to say that this is actually something that's really, really easy. If you want to just take it to like the bare minimum, if you go out to any hobby store out there, they're going to have different containers of whether you want to have spring grass or fall grass or scarce grass, or maybe different types of rocks, or maybe different types of puffs that can go on there that looks like different plants and things. There's a lot of things you can find there, and you can make it very simply just like, I want this one material. I can put some white glue on there, spread it on top, dump off the excess, let it dry, boom, you're done. But obviously, you can take it even further than that. Now, I think the very first thing you want to think about is the price. There might be some people out there like, oh, here we go. I spent this money for the models, for the materials to put them together, the things so I can actually paint it. And now you're telling me I have to spend more money to actually go and do the bases as well? Well, this can be very cheap. Now, I wouldn't go in and actually say like you should go out there and just like rip up grass and put it on there. That's probably not going to work out very well for you. But even just some things, like some people do that with just basic sand. Whether you want to go take a cup over to a local playground and just, borrow for, your little project you have there, or you want to buy a bag of sand or whatever it is, that can be as simple as it is. And it's not just a thing too where, oh, okay, I grabbed some sand, so apparently they're living on a beach or they're from the desert or whatever. Well, no, that's just really the texture that's going to be on the base, and you can do things like where you're painting on top of it and making it look like something different. That could just be the start, is having that sand texture that's on there, and then you take it somewhere else. I mean, just think of it. You take that sand base that's on there, paint it like a dark brown, that looks like a rich soil coming from a farm. And then all of a sudden, maybe you just go and put it into rows and you put little green bits in there so you can see like the seedlings and stuff like that. And as I'm talking about this, talking about the idea like, oh, are they from the beach? Are they from the desert? It's a farm. You start seeing how the story is starting to work itself into the base. And something too where you have this unifying idea for your models in your list, in your army, in your display, whatever it is. All of a sudden, when the bases fit together, and it's not just like, oh, well, this one is this color plastic and this is this color plastic, or I did this one this way and this one that way. Well, when they start looking the same, they start feeling like they go together. And then, like I said, you can even take that a step further and get even more fancy where, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to set this up so it's going to look like this scene. I'm going to be adding these extra pieces. Like I said, it could be as simple as I'm going to be going on there and adding on sand, but maybe I'm going to do a little bit extra and I'm going to add on maybe some little plant pieces. Again, you can go in there and can buy them. They look like little tufts. You put a little dab of glue on them, you put them on there, and when you look at it, it looks like now there's a shrub there. It looks like it's a plant, a flower, or whatever, depends on the product you buy. And that's just looking at the small levels. That's something that's supposed to be flat on the bottom. What if we get larger? What if you actually want to say like, I want to put on larger rocks and boulders on there. Maybe I want to be putting something on there so it's like a large tree or something like that. Maybe I want to be putting artifacts on the ground. What if I want to make it look like they're going over this battleground? So there's going to be some ruined earth. There's going to be some spent shells on the ground. Maybe there's a sword and a gun that's discarded here. Maybe the story that I'm going to do for this is that they're fighting this one other team. And so I'm going to be putting like the body parts and the pieces from that army scattered all over the base. So it looks like they're defeating and fighting them in that way. That's fantastic. You can start seeing where this hobby can really grab people's attention because it's something you can do very personal, and there's so many different ways you can take it. When I look at that one base model, there might be really only one way that model goes together. The head has to go here, the body click, click, click goes together this way. All right, that's it. And maybe there's a story because it's from this faction, this team. You can look at it and it looks like it's shooting or it looks like it's running, but that's kind of like a set thing that you can't really change too much unless we get to converting, which we'll be talking about later. But the base is something that you have full control over and can add so much to the story of what you're trying to say this is all about. I remember one of the classic ones that are out there is that there was this one orc army that's supposed to be all about where they're like, they got stranded on a beach and they're all about surfing and things now. And again, we'll talk about conversions later and what was done there, but then the idea that they did that with the bases. So these ones have like palm trees coming out of here. These ones are the nice sands. And then now you might even get into water effects. The idea that depending on what ones are standing closer to the water, you have some water that's coming up and you can actually place them down in a way where that makes sense. We can see, oh yeah, the water's completely come up to these ones, partially to here, blah, blah, blah. Oh, now you can see where it's going away from the sand, a little bit more rocky. Now it's going to where it's grass, and now there's trees. And when you lay it out nice with like a unit or a display tray or whatever, again, it's telling a story. It's no longer just plastic pieces I'm going to be putting down on a game to do whatever the game is all about. No, I have used this to tell a story. I have used this to use my passion to do an art project, basically, and now I'm going to be able to share it with everybody else. And like I said, with that sharing the passion, once I do this, other people are going to see this and be like, that's awesome. That's a great idea. You know what? I have this idea. I'm going to try this out. So I would say it's definitely something you should definitely try, whether it's something where, you know what, I've been leaving it as a plain, base that's black. I want to take it to our first step, put on some white glue, steal some sand, throw it on there, done. Or maybe take it a little bit further or a little bit further, or maybe even pause and think, what is the story for my army? Where are they supposed to be? Where does it make sense that they're actually going to be standing on? Or do I want to start using those things to make some of my models look even better? Do I want to be putting my leader models standing triumphantly like up on a large statue or a defeated beast or something like that, and making the model being more emphasized because of the base it's on? So there you go. Like I said, I want this to be a very quick 101 intro into what bases are about. And hopefully, if you're a person that didn't even think of this as a hobby, or maybe you were doing it, but just like doing that base level, just having an understanding about how so much further this can go, and that this could actually be something that you enjoy doing and actually makes you enjoy the hobby all over even more so. So there you go. That's Fuel the Flames. We're going to be having more of these coming up every 2 weeks. So I hope to see you then. Bye.